Hello Snowy, come on, get going. Here we are again in the East Ham Nature Reserve, which is also properly known as the St Mary Magdalene churchyard. That's the lovely Norman church, St Mary Magdalene, built in the 12th century. And we're very near to where I showed you the Titanic memorial grave the other day. There we are, it's this little bank of graves here. You might remember Rogers and Bagley. One was a steward and one was an engineer on the Titanic, and they're remembered on this grave. I don't think their bodies are ever found. There were two local men, one came from Woolwich and one came from, they both came from Woolwich, and one was a steward and one was an engineer. There's that lovely church again, a bit closer. This is the Victorian bell tower. The bell was made in the Whitechapel foundry in the 1890s, I think it was, when this tower was erected. The rest of the church, as I say, is 11th century or 12th century. At the rear there's a small hatch. It's a modern hatch they put in, but that is where an anchorite monk, a hermit of the catweasel type, who probably practiced all sorts of strange magic and potions, lived, and probably was kept alive by people coming along for his medications, and you know, in that way they fed him and he gave them their natural remedies. Some worked and some probably didn't. Now look at this. This is Mr John Skipsey. Let's give you that name there. He was who opened the High Street School in 1875. He died on September 11th, 1933, aged 89 years of age. Now he was the first schoolmaster, it says, in memory to East Ham's first schoolmaster, John Skipsey. This is the Victorian period where the ordinary child didn't get an education unless you came from a wealthy background. This is his wife, Matilda Skipsey, died aged 84 years in 1930. And as I say, Mr Skipsey, who was a schoolmaster of East Ham. This is new. This was only put up last year. This rather nice white Portland stone, I think it is, memorial. Put up by some of the local persons. Obviously had a few quid because they've managed to pay for this very expensive thing as their remembrance. And I think the idea of it is it's a little enclosure so that people can scatter the ashes of their relatives in this area. Remember in prayer before God those whose ashes are interred here. And his name is Nick Richins, 1960 to 2008. Poor chap, same age as me. I was born in 1960. There we go. That's really the basic church area of the churchyard. You can see Snowy loves this. She comes in nearly every day, wanders about. Here's a war memorial. I can see there's a wreath here as well, which is very appropriate. There we go. That's some of the local men who lost their lives in the First and Second World Wars. (1914 to 1918, 1939 to 1935). Those honoured here died in the service of their country and lie buried elsewhere in this churchyard. As you walk around the churchyard, there are many war graves. Crosset WA, Leading Airman, 27/6/1944. Brooks DC, 31/8/1942. Bates WT, 3/4/1944, and the list goes on. That's a bit of action video of Snowy there. And at this point, I'll just show you the front of the church as we walk down it. Come on, Snowy. There we go, you must visit this place. It's such a peaceful, wonderful time capsule in a very hectic East London. The World of Catweasel, if you remember that wonderful series with Geoffrey Bowden from the 1960s. If you haven't seen it, try it, you'll love it. Bye for now.
My little son, who looked from thoughtful eyes, and moved and spoke in quiet grown-up wise, having my law the 7th time disobeyed, I struck him and dismissed, with hard words and unkissed, his mother, who was patient, being dead. Then, fearing lest his grief should hinder sleep, I visited his bed, but found him slumbering deep, with darkened eyelids, and their lashes yet from his late sobbing wet. And I, with moan, kissing away his tears, left other of my own. For on a table drawn beside his head, he had put within his reach a box of counters and a red-veined stone, a piece of glass abraded by the beach, and 6 or 7 shells, a bottle with bluebells, and 2 French copper coins, ranged there with careful art to comfort his sad heart. So when that night I prayed to God, I wept and said, "Ah, when at last we lie with tranced breath, not vexing thee in death, and thou rememberest of what toys we made our joys, how weakly understood thy great commanded good, then, fatherly not less than I, whom thou hast moulded from the clay, thou'lt leave thy wrath, and say, I will be sorry for their childishness."